I'd rather keep it real with ya.
Hey everybody, it's me, Minu, back with another video. I actually started talking about this with a friend, and then I decided to talk about this with you guys. So let's just call this why I can't keep or make friends part whatever. I don't know. But it just came up recently, and I was like, have I never talked about this person? Now, I don't remember this nigga name. It was a white dude. You can call him Kyle if you want. I don't know. When I describe his personality, you guys tell me in the comments what type of name he should have. Because I don't know all the white guy stereotypes, the Kyles and the Drews and the Deans and the Sean. I don't know the fuck, okay? You know, just whatever. So there was this white guy, and I've said before too, like, when it comes to me calling people friends, people use the term way more loosely than I use the term. Like, I be wanting to wait until I feel like I can tell you all of my traumas and like be really vulnerable with you before I can call you a friend. Whereas other people are like, yeah, I saw her eating in the cafeteria a few times. That's my friend. And I'd be like, no. And it would offend people that I did not consider them my friend. And I'd be like, well, you're an acquaintance, or you're a classmate. You're in my cohort. We've never hung out outside of class. How are we friends? I'm so lost. But they would be like, we're friends, we're friends, we're friends. So I guess you can technically call this person a friend. He probably thought I was his friend. But it's this white guy, and I have an issue. I can talk about several people, honestly. I don't even know. I know he doesn't watch the channel, and there's another person I probably should talk about who also doesn't watch the channel. That I'm just like, what am I doing? What am I doing? I'm really, really bad at rejecting people outright, because I know what it feels like to be weird. I know what it feels like to be socially awkward. I know what it feels like to not really know how to say the right thing, because I grew up with so much trauma. My brain did not develop like normal people, which, I mean, at this point, normal probably is trauma, but my brain didn't develop the right way to where I knew how to socialize with people. So for years, even all into college, I did not know how to say the right thing. So sometimes I would just say shit, you know, or I would just want to be a part of the conversation. So I would just say something so that people don't forget that I'm like standing there. But sometimes I would say stuff and people be like, why'd you say that? I was like, I don't know. I say words sometimes. Ignore me, whatever. So I struggled with that for a very long time. And it took, even when trying to get jobs after college, it took a lot of interview practice and like communicating with my white friends and mentors to learn how to talk to people and like carry on conversations in a way that was enjoyable for people, that made them want to talk to me more. But don't get it twisted. That was a period of time where I was just like those weebs, those hikikomori people who did not leave the house, did not go on dates, did not, you know, hang out with friends in school. Like, there was a long time when all I had was my fan fiction, which that way of talking to people wasn't gonna work. I read Edgar Allan Poe. That way of talking to people wasn't gonna work. I played video games. I guess some of the video games I played, I could have talked to people like that, but it just wasn't my style. Like, I didn't know how to talk to people. So when I meet someone who talks to me and they're coming off kind of weird, like they don't really know how to say the right thing, maybe they jump from topic to topic, you know, I used to be real bad at transitioning to a different topic. So like I just have a lot of sympathy for those people. And now too, it's like knowing more people with like different conditions. Like, one of my friends is DID, and at first it just kind of like, and again, this is a situation where it was good. They would say things like, we this, us this, our this, and they lived alone. So I was like, who is we? You know, I just asked her, I was like, it's you and who? And then they explained to me that they had the dissociative identity disorder, and they were like, it's like a system, and there's it's different people, but they're all technically me, but I say we and our and all that stuff. And I was like, oh, Okay, moving on. Cool. Whatever. If I was like some of my friends, or even some of my friends that I had in college, I would have immediately been like, this person's saying we an hour and they live alone. Psh, stop talking to them, block them. You know what I mean? But I'm not the type of person. I'm really like, you know, I give people a chance. I give people a lot of chances. So here's an example where I probably shouldn't have given someone a chance. So when I was in college, I was hanging out with my college friends and we were just walking around campus. I don't even know if we was doing anything. I think we were just walking. And we walk into this laundry room. It wasn't even ours. We were in somebody else's building. And there was this guy there. It was this tall white guy. And he was just peeling the skin off his foot. and he was like, oh, hey, yeah. And it was like, and my friends immediately was like, no. And I was just like, oh, hey, what's up? You know, what's going on? What happened to your foot? And he had some kind of injury on his foot, and the skin had, you know, necrotized. I can't remember how you say it, but like it was a lot of dead skin. And he was just like, you know, I'm down here to pull it off. And I was like, okay, whatever, you know, people get injuries, you know. And my friends was like, fuck no, fuck this guy. He's crazy. We gotta go. Me new. And I was like, I mean, sometimes people do get foot injuries, and like I literally was like, I pulled skin off my foot too, not from like a big wound, you know, but sometimes you just have some extra skin on your foot, you know. It happens. Like I completely was just like, you know, give the guy the benefit of the doubt. This is our first time meeting him. Like, leave him alone. Like, he probably didn't even think anybody was gonna come down here and see him. He was just being real chill about it. They were like, me too, no. And I was like, it's whatever. So I saw him randomly several times, and it was always like he was always super hype, and he would like talk in a way that was kind of weird, and it was just super excited all the time. And I was just like, something's off about this guy, but I'm gonna keep talking to him because I'm me. And one time he actually revealed to me that he had medication. He was supposed to be on medication. As somebody who also was on a lot of medication, even then I was like, oh, you know, that explains everything. You know, you need to take your medication, and then, you know, it'll help you like calm down and even out. So I gave him the benefit of the doubt because he was on medication, especially given the fact I don't think I met autistic people. Or maybe I did and I just didn't know. I've met more autistic people online, but I met people in college who had depression, who had ADHD, you know. So I was like, I don't want to write somebody off just because they have a mental illness. Like, that's not fair. And so like a few times when I would see him and he'd be acting like super obnoxious, annoying, it's loud, he wouldn't stop talking. I think there was some times when he would like start drooling, like he was just going. And I would ask him blatantly, like, bro, have you been taking your meds? And he'll be like, no. And this is something that didn't occur to me then, because I also had a roommate in college who didn't take their meds either. But some mentally ill people don't take their medication. And it just didn't click to me that was something that happened, because I was desperate. Like, I was desperate for medication. I was like, I feel crazy and I don't want to feel crazy anymore. Please give me stuff to make me feel normal. And so like I was always taking my medication like clockwork, you know, whatever I needed to take to get to where I could feel like a normal person, I was taking it. And it did not occur to me that some mentally ill people just did not take their medication. So he just did not take his medication. Like, he would go to the doctor, they would prescribe it, he'd get the pills, and he just wouldn't take it. Now I suspect he might have been selling them, but that's a suspicion. I don't know for sure. But yeah, every time he would come around, he'd just be really, really annoying. And I was very much like, there was just too much sexual violence and violence towards AFAB people going on at my college for me to have any type of like, I don't know. I kind of had this kind of like aggression towards white men who were bigger than me. Like I talked about in one of the videos about how I woke up and there was just that naked white guy in my dorm room. And I was immediately like, get the fuck out. You know, like I was just very aggressive towards white men who were bigger than me, because I just did not want them to think that I was the one. You know what I mean? I was not the one. I was not the two. So it would get to a point where I was like, well, if you're not going to take your medication, you got to leave, because you was acting a whole fool. You know, you touching people. We don't want you touching us. You know, like we was having a good conversation and you jumped in and you're like yelling and all this stuff. And it's just making everybody uncomfortable. I need you to go somewhere else. So there would be several times where I'd just be like, I need you to go somewhere else. And my friends would like literally be like, we don't know what to do. Like, this guy is scary. Like, and he just, you know, would throw his weight around, and even talked about like the connections he had or whatever with the school, which I mean, it's a predominantly white school with rich white people. I'm not surprised. But I was just like, bruh, you got to go over there. And I would literally do this with him several times, when we had these interactions, to where he would actually leave and go somewhere else and be like, okay, fine, I'll go over here. Because there was just times when I was just like, well, if you don't want to be better, I don't want to be bothered. But it wasn't to the point where I was like, this guy's crazy. No one ever talked to him. It's like he would come over and he'd be like, hey, Minu. And I'd be like, hey, what's up? You know, but then when he started like revving up, I'd be like, you need to go. So there was several times when there was just stuff about him that should have been red flags, but I kept giving him the benefit of the doubt, because I felt like I don't want to judge mentally ill people. I don't want to feed into the stereotype that a mentally ill person could be dangerous. Now, there are some people who are dangerous regardless of the mental illness. Like, the mental illness isn't what makes them dangerous, but they just happen to be. And the thing that we started to worry about with this being a white school with entitled white men was this fear of school shooters. You know, is he gonna be one of those? So then one day something happened where I was making a film, and it was going to be about racial violence. I was in history. We were, you know, learning all about, you know, racial violence and stuff. And it was a post-slavery thing. It was not during slavery. It was after slavery. I don't know if many of you are history buffs, but after slavery, you know, you had a lot of issues with the KKK. You had issues with there still being segregation. You had issues with what were called race riots, which were really just, you know, white people attacking black people. There was a lot of that after slavery. Like, slavery, it's not like slavery ended and then everybody was kumbaya. You know what I mean? It was still a lot of fighting with people, and a lot of aggression. So we were making a film about that period of time. I think it was called like the Reconstruction period. And at one point he came up to me and he said, hey, Minu, I heard you're making a slave movie. And I was like, what? And he was like, I heard you're making a slave movie and I want to be a slave master in your movie. And I was like, no, I'm not making a slave movie. There are no slaves in this movie. Maybe former slaves, but there are no slaves in this movie. There are no slave masters in this movie. I was very aggressive about not wanting sus people to be in the filming of this, because I wanted the black people who were going to be reenacting scenes of racial violence to feel comfortable doing that on set. I didn't want anybody creepy. We still ended up with a creepy white dude on there who seemed to be enjoying himself a little too much. We didn't invite him back. He had one day of shooting and we were like, we're good with you. But this guy in particular, I didn't see him as racist. I just saw him as somebody who liked to say things for shock value. And he was just like way too excited. And I wouldn't let him in a movie that I was making about something that serious in the first place. But like, yeah, he was like, I want to be a slave master in your slave movie. I think it's going to be cool. And you could tell by the way he was saying it that he was just really enjoying the fact that it was making people uncomfortable for him to say that. And I was like, I'm not making a slave movie, and the movie that I am making, you can't be a part of it, so you need to go. And I was like, leave. I had to say it a bunch of times, and he was like, fine, I'll leave. And then this I don't even know if you can call him a hotep. He wasn't acting as much like a hotep, more as like one of those super radical black people. Came to me, and he was very disrespectful towards me, which is so annoying. And was like, apparently the white guy was going around telling people that I was making a slave movie. Well, not just that I was making a slave movie, but that some white people at the school were making a slave movie, and he was really pissed about it, and he found out that I was involved with it, and he wanted to like yell at me about it. And I was like, first of all, I'm making the movie. Yes, there's white people in the movie because it's racial violence. That's what we're talking about. But I'm making the movie. Me. Because he was very just aggressive about, here go the white people again trying to make a slave movie. I was like, bruh, calm down. It turned out that person had a lot of beef with this white guy who was being a problem. And so I don't fully know what went down between them. There were a lot of different rumors. But when you have a white guy who likes to say things for shock value and a radical black guy who's like, you know, super much, you know, pro-black, does not like white people, for them to clash is a big issue. And so there were rumors that they may have like hooked up and like that was an issue. There were rumors that it might not have been a consensual hookup, which was also an issue, but they just really did not like each other. And one thing I'll say about that is I know trolls. That white guy, big troll. I don't know how he is online, but he was like a troll in real life. Y'all, please stop letting these trolls get y'all riled up. They just saying shit to get you riled up. Like, let it go. And that's the other thing. It's like he was just saying things to get people riled up. Like, all my friends at the table were like, oh my God. And I was like, whatever, boy, go. Like, I didn't care. Like, it was whatever. Like, he wasn't going to be in my film. He wasn't. So bye. But he was causing, like, he was acting a whole fool. And then later, there was a time when, like, there were police at the school, which is weird. You know, rich white school, police. Is a black person being arrested? And I found out that there was rumors about it. So somehow he was involved. And the story, there's two versions of the story. One version of the story was he was buying drugs from one of the drug dealers. As a white guy, of course, you know. Black people couldn't really get away with doing stuff like that at this type of institution. But it was a white guy. And he stole money from the guy. And the guy beat him up. And then the police were called. Okay. There was another situation where it was like maybe he stole drugs from the guy or he sold drugs to the guy. You know, all types of stuff could have been going down to where there became a physical altercation and he got beat. And then later it was like, you know, I got my ass beat, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, yeah, sounds like something that was bound to happen to you, the way you act. But he had connections, so nothing really came of it other than, you know, hey, police were here, scary. And it was just stuff like that. Like, he was just like, people knew him as this like crazy white guy. But even then, he to me just seemed like a troll. He did not seem like somebody who was actively going to like harm people. There were some right wingers, some alt-right wingers at my school that we were genuinely concerned would actively harm people because they had guns and like they wrote online about how they had guns and they said all types of racist school shooter manifesto type shit and bragged about the fact that the people at the gate don't really be checking you if you're white. You know, if you're white, you could just walk on campus and they'll let you walk on campus. Like, they don't care. But if you're black, they'll stop you and be like, who are you? What are you here for? Blah, blah, blah. Like, you know what I mean? And it's typical of institutions like that they would treat black people as we were the problem. But a white person can come through with guns in his car and they'll just be like, oh yeah, go ahead, sir. There were people who we were genuinely afraid of to do stuff like that. This guy to me just felt like a troll. You know, him getting beat up by a white drug dealer because of whatever nonsense he got involved with, that just seemed like something that was going to happen. But it didn't seem like he was a danger to others as much as he was a danger to himself because he wouldn't shut the fuck up and stop doing stuff. And then there was even this story that one of my friends told me about how he had helped her, like they heard a girl like screaming in the dorm room and he had helped like his roommates and this other girl try to find out what was going on to make sure the girl was okay. And we'd had situations like that, you know, a girl would scream and then the people in the dorm would be like, we got to figure out what's going on. Like, we go knock on the door. Are you okay? Do we need to help you? You know, like people would get involved. And so even though he was a troll, when it came to like a situation like that, people were like, huh. He was actually willing to, you know, help protect this girl who could have been, you know, being harmed. So to me, I just felt like, oh, he's a troll, but it, like as a real person, he's decent. And then over the summer, two things happened. One thing was somebody was going around breaking the glass windows of the dorms. And everybody immediately knew it was this nigga, because who else gives a fuck? You know what I mean? Who else gives a fuck about the dorms? The dorms is already trash, you know, people throwing up, getting sick, you know, falling over, like this, the dorms was already trash. And it's like somehow we just knew it was him. And then he showed up one day. I think he had glass on his, like, well, I think he had like cuts on like his feet and his hands and stuff, and it was like, yeah, that nigga did it. Did anything happen to him? No, he's white. Nothing was gonna happen to him. And he had said multiple times, nothing, I could do whatever I want at this school and nothing's gonna happen to me because my parents have money and they got connections with the school. And so we knew that nothing would ever happen to him no matter what he did. So I guess because there wasn't a lot of people on campus one summer, he just decided to start breaking windows, and nothing happened to him. He was still at school the next semester, totally fine, with his glass scars. And then another thing came up. We found out, I can't even remember who the person was, but we found out that he had sexually assaulted someone. And sexual assault, obviously, when you're in college, is a very common thing. And my school did do not the school, you know, the school did everything to cover it up, as they do. But the students at the school did a lot to try and call out the fact that it was a very common thing, with drinking and hookup culture. It just, like, it made the propensity for sexual assault just a lot higher, especially because the school was not offering a lot of avenues, because it was the fraternities. You know, you want to have a party on a Saturday night, you go into the fraternities where they're drinking, and you have to drink what, and you don't have to, but you drink whatever it is they give you. It could be spiked, you don't know. There wasn't a lot of opportunities for people to have fun that didn't involve alcohol. So a lot of people were going, they were getting drunk, people were dragging them home, and we just had to trust that was their friend. I was annoying to the friends that I had when I first went to college, because they was like getting so drunk that they were just like acting a fool, like to people were recording them, and I was trying to like stop them. And they were literally like, fuck you, Minu, I do what I want. And I was like, okay, but they're recording you being fucked up and like okay, do what you want to do. You know, but I had a lot of situations where I was actively trying to stop shit from happening and like getting into it with these bigger white guys who were causing trouble. And the friends that I had that I was trying to help did not appreciate it at all. They just wanted to have fun, which some of them did end up getting assaulted, unfortunately. But it was just a very high propensity for that. And so when I found out he had assaulted somebody, I was like, wait a minute now. Up until now, he had only been a danger to himself. You know, who did he hurt by breaking windows? Himself. You know, who did he hurt by stealing or picking a fight with a drug dealer? Himself. You know, now we're finding out that he actually sexually assaulted someone. We didn't know all the details, but we knew that he did it because we believe victims. And I was shocked. And I remember one of the women who said that he had helped him like try to like save a girl who was, you know, screaming in her dorm room, was also shocked. She was like, I cannot believe that someone like that would do that, because he seemed to care so much about protecting women from these things. And then for him to do it, it's like awful. And there were rumors that he had done it to someone else, but it was kind of like people didn't know whether to believe it or not, because like I said, it was the potentially a situation where they hooked up, but people weren't supposed to know that they hooked up. It was one of those type of situations. So it was really, really muddy. It was a lot of he said, you know, and so people were kind of like, we didn't know what to believe in that situation, because the details was just really, really off from all directions. But with this other situation where the girl talked about being assaulted by him, details lined up perfectly, and everybody was like, oh shit, like, can't believe this guy did that. And after that, I was just like, oh, I'm ready to graduate. I'm ready to go, y'all. I'm sorry. And they was like, Minu, we told you. You should have stopped talking to that nigga back when he was picking skin off his foot. And like when you tell people that, they're like, yeah, this sounds like a crazy thing to do. And I was like, y'all, I was not... I give people so many chances. I give people so many chances, and I felt like he was a troll, yes. Was he, you know, white guy saying things to shock people, stir shit up? Yes, I've listened to early Eminem, I know. So, and I just gave him so many chances, especially when I found out that he had some kind of mental illness where he had to take medication. Like, there was just so many different times when I was like wanting to give him the benefit of the doubt, because for me, trolls are only as harmless as you allow them to be. You know what I mean? And I've said this in my white liberals video. He could say whatever he wanted. You know what I mean? He could yell out the N-word. He could be like, oh, Minu's making a slave movie and I'm going to be a slave master in her slave movie. Like, like he can lie about that if he wants to. But the reality of the situation is that wasn't what was happening. If he chooses to yell out the N-word and get beat up by some black guys, that's on him. You know what I mean? He could say whatever as long as he didn't hurt anybody. A lot of trolls can only hurt people with their words. A lot of trolls are only harmful because of the fact that people will spend a lot of time stressed out about what they said. Like the radical black guy. He was so upset about what this guy said. And what he thought was happening by the time he came to me to talk to me about it. And I was just like, okay, well, you chose to be upset because that ain't even what happened. You should have just came to me immediately. And so to me, I was like, oh, it's harmless. And then he does that. And I was like, and I knew he was going to get away with it, even though all the details matched up perfectly. Because like I said, it was very common at our college. And a lot of ways that it ended up happening, they kind of went together. It was usually someone went to a party, they drank a little bit or they drank a lot. Either way, they felt like it was okay to let somebody like come in their dorm room when their friends were gone, or somebody who was a friend wanted to hang out with them in their dorm room, and then it goes down. So it's like, it was a very common thing for stuff like that to happen. And so when someone says that happens, we're immediately like, that makes perfect sense. You know, the details line up perfectly for that type of situation. Especially when you consider alcohol being involved and potentially drugs being involved, as somebody being so messed up that they can't do anything. So it was very much like a shock for me. And people were like, you should just say at the beginning, like, you're making me uncomfortable, stop. And I'm really bad at it. It took me a year for this one person I was talking to who thought we were friends. It took me a year to be like, this friendship is just not doing anything for me. I've gained no benefit from this relationship at all. I have not been able to talk to you. You don't comfort me when I'm struggling. You don't know anything about me. I don't know anything about you. We don't share interests. We don't, like, it was just like one of those things. It's like, we just talking to talk. And we're having shallow ass conversations for a year. It took me a year. And I feel like I tend to fall into that trap because of the fact that I am someone who is very nice and empathetic. I don't know if you guys can tell, but I'm very nice and empathetic when I'm talking to people, even when I disagree with them. Like when I'm on here, I may get like aggressive, I may yell, but like when I'm in the comment section of stuff, I'm usually very, very nice to people because I'm not a comment fighter, comment warrior, whatever you call it. So I end up in situations where I just let so many things slide because I want to give the person the benefit of the doubt. If I'm talking to somebody and my friends are like, hey, just block that person if they're making you uncomfortable. I'm like, well, are they making me uncomfortable because they say XYZ, or do they have some type of illness? Maybe they're autistic and they just talk different. Maybe they have ADHD and they're just excitable. Maybe they have this, maybe they have that, maybe they have this, because I'm so big on not wanting to judge somebody. One, I don't want to judge you at all. But two, I don't want to judge you prematurely. So I just let things go on and go on and go on. And then I'm like tired and exhausted and drained. And I have to be pushed to like a breaking point to say, okay, I don't want to fuck with this person anymore. I don't want to talk to this person anymore. You know, there were so many red flags with him to where looking back now, I would be like, this guy is not good for my spirit. He is not bringing joy. I don't get any benefit out of talking to him. You know, I just get annoyed every time he comes around and he says these things for shock value. And honestly, man, fucking grow up. Grow up. Like, saying things just because you know that it will make the black people around you upset is just really annoying and childish. And I should have been like, I don't have time for this, go away. But instead I was just like, oh, he's just being a troll, guys, you know, or ignore him, da-da-da-da. Which is funny because my friend told me about online trolls, like, oh, you can't ignore them. And I was like, you can ignore anybody online. When they're in your face directly in person, you just got to be like, go away, get the fuck away from me. And I had to do that with him. And I wasn't afraid to do that with him. But I think definitely with him being a tall white guy who had connections and money, that it was easy for him to feel entitled to do whatever he wanted, say whatever he wanted. Did it matter if he got good grades? Fuck no. He was there to have a good time, and his parents would bail him out of any bad times. So I'm glad that I haven't had the unfortunate, not pleasure, I guess, of running into him again. I think he also stole somebody's car, didn't he? He was just up all kinds of nonsense. But he wasn't going to do that nonsense with me because I was going to tell him to get the fuck out of my face when he started acting crazy. But I'm just really bad. I'm really bad at giving people the benefit of the doubt and being empathetic and not just like cutting people off immediately. And I have to deal with the consequences of that. I could be talking to somebody and they could just not be good for me, and I will put up with it for a good amount of time despite everyone telling me not to. Even now, I'm not even gonna lie and say that this is a past thing. Like I even now have conversations with people where my friends are like, you don't need somebody like that in your life, like stop talking to them. And I'm just like, well, I don't know what they got going on, you know, maybe there's an explanation for why they're acting like this, as opposed to me just being like, I'm uncomfortable, I'm gonna leave. You know, I want to hear what you guys got to say about it. Because I do really need to tell this person I don't want to talk to them no more. I'm exhausted. I'm trying to talk to these people who are not bringing any type of joy or benefit into my life. And I just got to be able to say no. Because I'm not, and I don't like to just block people either. I want to have that conversation of like, I'm going to block you or unfriend you because I do not wish to talk to you anymore. Like, I want to have that conversation. I don't like to just block people without saying anything. And also YouTube is public. So if somebody felt some type of way about me and they came and they could just be in my comments talking shit. And I don't want to have to deal with a lot of that. So what do you guys recommend in the comments? Like, what are some ways that you have been caught up in these friendship, relationships, whatever, that just was not good for you and you really needed to get out, but you didn't know how to get out? Did you ever get out? And if you did, how you do it? You know, because I'm just like, I just be running past red flags. Like, I don't know, but I want to hear what you guys' opinion is on it. And any advice you guys have about how to properly set boundaries with people despite whatever they may have going on. Because I had to break off friendships with people with depression. I had to break off friendships with people who wanted to end it. You know, I had to break off friendships with, you know, people who were just in really bad places. And I felt like, man, I don't want to be in your note. I don't want to be one of the 13 reasons why, you know what I mean? That I would like, you know, not, you know, walk away from the relationship, but I had to for my own mental health. So, you know, guys, if you have any examples of how you've like ended relationships or you've like told people you don't want to talk to them anymore, because of the fact that they make you uncomfortable or they're toxic despite what they got going on, and you know that I guess that you have to prioritize yourself and your own mental health. You know, I can tell this to my friends all day long, but I don't be listening to my own advice. So I'm interested to see what you guys have to say in the comments, so let me know. And you know, as I always say, take care of yourself, drink your water, eat some food, take some naps, give yourself some grace because you deserve it. And I will see you guys in the next video. I love you. Bye.